This right here is how you write a love triangle. So other romance anime, drama anime, please take note. This is how it's done. I've said in even the previous Yamada-kun video I did, I'm really not the hugest fan of love triangles. I usually think they're just there to make fans argue about who's best girl. But there's certain shows, whether Toradora to now this, that I can say I like what they did with the love triangle. And what I was hoping to see, which these past two episodes of Yamada have really proved to me, is that rather than going toxic, I just didn't see how you could go Runa level, I'm going to set you up with a stranger and who knows what happens. Instead, it really felt like we were building up to, she's going to be crushed, Yamada's school friend Baki's going to have her heart broken, but rather than just hating Akane, that just didn't feel like what the show wanted to do. And seemingly, that's exactly what they're building into. And with 2 more episodes to go of what I consider to be the best romance of the season and probably of the year for me if I'm being honest, I'm really excited to see where they take it from here. Now I do have full live reactions to both last week and this current episode of Loving Yamada at level, 999? Whatever the hell this long-ass title is. Great show, long-ass title, so if you do want to see that, you can head on over to the Patreon and consider supporting if you're interested. Now, I'm liking what they're doing. I did have one mistake. I was under the assumption, and it's just because it was a little fuzzy, I thought the girl who seemingly confessed to Yamada when he was younger and he said, I won't be with you forever, was actually his classmate Tsubaki. Turns out, no, I was wrong there, so I did have to correct that, but hey, you know what, I'm not always going to be right, I'm okay admitting that. But in doing so, they actually turned the love triangle to be a bit more interesting, because by her never actually confessing her feelings out loud and just being someone who originally thought Yamada was a cheater, so there's like, no way you're that good at the game, and then slowly but surely, obviously developing feelings, but looking at him denying every girl who comes near him, she even brings up, like, if you're not careful, people start rumors, and he literally shows no interest. So by having that feeling of thinking, you just sat there and was fearful, because imagine seeing Yamada shoot down all these beautiful women around you and he has no interest for romance. The best you probably can hope for is being his friend. And now you're seeing that this pretty college girl is seemingly connecting with him in ways that you've never seen him express. Obviously, that's gonna sting and you're probably gonna not be too happy. And I like the fact that rather than just going, I hate Akane or I'm pissed off at Akane, instead, what they're clearly building up, especially with her now a part of the MMO and joining the guild, they're bonding in ways where she's recognizing that, damn, I'm probably seeing exactly why. This girl's kind of like a drug. She just hooks you in with her sweetness and you just are roped into fighting a monster and not even doing it anywhere close to the way it was designed. I think that's what's interesting. Like, they definitely could still go the route of her announcing her feelings to Yamada and being shot down, because it's crystal clear that Yamada is without a doubt in love with Akane, even if he's not 100% sure. His actions are without a doubt showing that. I mean, just look at her sick in the last episode. Our boy not only came over, he carried her into the taxi in his arms, knight in shining armor, got her to the hospital, stayed all night, and was there for her. Like, you can just tell these two are just two peas in a pod. But we can't discredit other people's feelings. But what I always say, especially when people like to quote the friend zone, is that to be in a relationship, 2 people have to agree. Just because someone falls in love with someone doesn't mean that other person has to give those feelings back. It's entirely possible for 2 people like them to have a friendship, one develops feelings, the other doesn't. It doesn't mean they have to stop being friends or that, they're horrible for not giving you the feelings back. People are different and people are unique. And I think that's exactly what they're trying to write this love triangle as. I mean, you can just look at so many of the realistic aspects about this show, one of which I don't think many people will probably bring up, but Momo, Akane's friend, I like the fact that rather than having her as a side character for a majority of this show, being there as like a plot relevant character or like she's just there to drive certain things forward. Instead, she sometimes appears but might be gone for episodes on end, and she just feels like a realistic friend for someone like Akane. Half the time she's out on group dates trying to find her future husband, but when she is sick and is in need of someone to do the shopping, she's right there. They may bicker a bit and they may butt heads a little bit, but at the end of the day, they just feel like they wrote Momo as a normal friend to a character rather than we need to make Momo super relevant. Now, granted, she may fall in love with Ada based on how much she's realizing that maybe gaming is the way to meet men based on the prettiness of the current guild members of that guild, but at the end of the day, I like the fact that they write characters realistic. I think if you look at last week's episode, if your heart didn't melt, if your heart didn't flutter at least once or twice, during the multiple scenes of her melting into the covers, just being happy someone was there for her and she didn't have to do this alone. You gotta be just ice cold, man. You would have to be as ice cold as Akane when the two dudes come over to their table in this latest episode, and she was giving off the "I'm one step away from macing you if you don't back off." That's the only way you didn't melt to last week's episode. But I think if you combined what he did for her when she was sick, and clearly how much she is needing to talk to Momo, like, what's wrong with me? Like, is there something wrong that causes my relationships to fail? Because the last thing she wants to do is to hurt or push someone like Yamada away if she thinks there's something wrong. Seemingly with how they end the episode with Ada basically being like, hey, I have something to talk to you. Almost, I'm wondering if she's going to talk about Yamada, and if potentially there's something there that he can see and maybe it's worth pursuing. But either way, they're taking things at a realistic pace, and by introducing what is without a doubt a love triangle between two classmates and this freshman college girl, all things considered, they are actually handling things realistically without going toxic or bitchy. They had more than enough toxicity with how Runa started out at the beginning of this show, and they proved that rather than keeping her this horrible little sister trope, she became the most adorable little sister character that you could ask for. So did we really need to introduce someone like Tsubaki as being this, like, I hate you, just gonna be a bitchy character? No. She's clearly heartbroken, and she's clearly in love with Yamada, but I like the fact that rather than tossing her feelings aside, they're relevant enough to remind us that I wish you could have the happiness with Yamada that you want. But not only is it just the viewers shipping these two characters together, it's crystal clear the characters that they want to be with. Yamada is in love with Akane, and Akane is in love with Yamada. Some are a little more aware than others, but at the end of the day, as I always say, even if a character that I wish would be in a relationship with another character, I would rather the show put characters that are written together for a reason. I don't want just wish fulfillment, and that's what the show's doing. And that's why the way they're navigating the minefield that should be a love triangle is being handled with grace. As I say though, this is a brilliant season for romance anime, so there's a lot of great picks to pick from, but as I've also said, out of all the recent romance anime, like the strictly romance anime, not just shows with a little element of romance, no, like pure romance, like something like Yamada-kun, this is without a doubt my favorite that I've watched in a few years. Like, I am loving this one. I'm not ready to say goodbye in a couple of episodes, but this one has left its mark, and it feels like we're progressing to a big final punchline, and I'll be interested to see where they take it. But I'd love to know everyone's thoughts, whether if you have any feelings on this latest episode or last week's adorable taking care of our girl episode. Whatever you're feeling, let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more Yamada-kun on the channel. And as I mentioned, full live reaction to both of these episodes are available on my Patreon if you're interested, and while you're there, you'll also get a video shout out. So today we have Diedrich Savon, Jared Fan, Jessica Compton, and Kevin. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.